Okay, so we are moving to the next session, that how individuals are going to plan their career. You remember before that we talked about the basic concept of career planning, and then we also discussed that how people progress through these career stages and what are the various things especially which is going to help you to decide in your career, right. Once you have understood that, the next stage is discussing about how we are going to plan your career. So, when you go about individual career planning, as individual you want to plan your career basically, then you have to see that you decide where you are and where you want to go in the short term, in the medium run and also the long term, right. Suppose I ask you a question, you are in a particular career, a particular stage, okay. Down the line after 5 years, where do you see yourself? Most of the people have not even thought about it, that okay, well, this is what they want to achieve. Okay. But unless you plan your career well and engage in those activities or go for those kind of interventions, which is going to help you to achieve you and reach to that goal in terms of your career, I mean you will not be able to go ahead and you might be lagging behind compared to others so far as achieving your career goal is concerned. So, it is very very important to understand this phenomena, that how individuals are going to plan their career. Okay. Now, when it comes to career planning activities, there could be a number of factors which is going to affect career planning activities, right. So, these activities are basically related to the environment or the economy. Okay. The number of careers may be less or more, okay, because of different activities. So, when you are going to plan your career, the first thing that you will have to look at, that what are the careers which are available in the market, okay, and what kind of changes are happening in the career field of the career, okay, right. Now, some of these factors are very very important, in the sense that you need to look at these things in order to decide how you are going to reach to your goal in terms of achieving certain levels in the hierarchy in your career. Now, if you look at some of these factors which may not be applicable in your context, like equal employment, okay, you know that is also going to affect your career. How equal employment opportunity is going to help you or may not affect you also sometimes, provided you do not have equal employment opportunities. Okay. In certain states like US and other places, you have this Equal Employment Opportunities Act, which helps you to explore careers irrespective of what you are as an individual, in terms of your background, in terms of your culture, in terms of your race, in terms of your gender, in terms of your ethnicity, right. So, it does not matter, but when it comes to our country, okay, it does matter, because you have certain systems of reservation which with the objective to promote certain set of people who are not economically well off. Okay. So, that is going to affect your career at one point of a time or other. So, a person from a general category may not be able to achieve that level of career even if he thinks about it, because there is a restriction or quota system, right. So, whether this equal employment opportunity is going to be applied in a particular context or not, that is to be seen, and then you have to say that what are how it is going to affect you when you are going to plan your career. Then other activities, okay, like right sizing. You know, the most of the organizations, because of this economic factors, okay, which is going to affect them, they are going for right sizing. What do you mean by right sizing? Right sizing means that you are going to have just enough number of people. Okay. It is a part of manpower planning exercise, where you are going to have right kind of people for the right job at the right time, right. So, this kind of right sizing actually is happening today, because many organizations are going for restructuring their manpower requirement. And this right sizing is done because of technology, okay, because of automation, because of mechanization. Okay. So, these factors are forcing organizations to go for right sizing in order to cut costs. Okay. That is also going to affect you as when you are going to plan your career. How it is going to affect you? Because of the right sizing, there may not be certain careers which may be available to you later on. Suppose you have got a good functional expertise in a particular field, okay, and tomorrow you find that that particular specialization of functional competence is no more required, because this job is going to be totally automated. So, even if you have developed this kind of expertise, it is of no use and you cannot go further. For example, you know that most of the entry level jobs in IT companies, okay, are going to be automated tomorrow. So, if you think that as a good programmer you are going to develop your career in the direction, you will, it is not possible for you, because machine learning, artificial intelligence, these are taking over. Okay. Then restructuring. Restructuring is something where we are going to restructure the organization in terms of roles and responsibility, in terms of hierarchies, changing in the hierarchies. You are moving from tall to flatter structures, right, where the number of positions are going to be less. So, suppose you want to become a general manager, tomorrow we will find that there is no post of general manager in the company. So, how would you reach to that level? Because of the restructuring exercise that is being done. Okay. And then promotion competition, there are a lot of competition to be promoted, and whether you have those competencies in order to get promotion or not. Then I already talked about technology and innovation factor, because that is very very important, okay, because technology is changing the way we are going to do our job, okay, because of automation, mechanization, robots were going to work tomorrow. Okay. If you look at some of the things, the latest things, where you will find that robots are working as a household servants, they are going to fight with the enemies. So, if you think that you can develop your career, so you have to look at these perspectives in a broader way, so that you decide what would be suitable and where you can really grow and develop yourselves. Okay. And then you know that organizations are going for a lot of layoffs and firings, because they find the units works being unproductive, or they are not able to compete in the market. Okay, closing down certain units, departments, or even the organizations are being closed out. So, these are some of the factors at the macro level which must be looked into before you start thinking about your career in a particular direction, depending upon your strength based on your assessment, right. Moving further, if you look at career planning assessment, now since we have discussed about the factors which are going to affect your career. So, you have to adopt this process depending upon the context. So, economic factors, technical factors, social factors, regulatory factors provide you a context. So, based on this context, now what we are going to do is, we are going to see that how we can plan and develop our career, right. So, as a process of planning our career, first of all you have to do certain exercises. Okay. You should know yourself in terms of your strengths and weaknesses. You should also know what are the opportunities that are available that is available to you given the kind of strength that you have. What are the barriers that you have? What are the various options or choices so far as your career is concerned? And what would be consequences if you go for this kind of career? Because if you get into a wrong career, there is a possibility of getting regret later on, right, and you may not be happy and satisfied doing that particular job. So, based on this, you are going to decide about your goals and objectives of the career, and then you plan certain interventions or activities which is going to help you in the career planning, right. So, you to start with self assessment. It could be done using web, or you can do it on your own self. Then you also look at what is the career plan of the organization, what kind of career paths they have for growth and development, and then what is your career planning objective. So, we will discuss these kind of things one by one. Now, to start with, if you look at the spectrum of the entire career development activities, okay, from all the stakeholders, from individuals, from the managers, from the organizational side, right. So, it starts with identifying what needs to be done by you, okay, like self directed works to company run career planning workshops. Moving ahead, you have corporate seminars or careers, which is organized by the management, right. Then you have discussions related to your career with your supervisors, identify your training needs and see that how you can develop. Then developing your assessment, being assessed through development centers. sorry, the assessment centers, you get feedback and see whether you have the strength or not. Okay. And then you see what are the talent inventories that is available with the organization, and then see what is the succession plan of the organization and where you can fit into that, right. So, you are going to engage in different kind of activities at your level with the help of the managers, and also look at the organizational career plan and see that how you can grow and develop yourself in the career. So, after this, next thing that we are going to discuss is that how do we go about it. Okay. So, if you really want to explore our career and set goals for ourselves, so the first thing is that you discuss it with those who are familiar with these kind of things, knowledgeable individuals, okay. Those who can guide and advise you, okay. Based upon your strength and constraints that you have, they would advise, okay, this would be the best career for you. Okay. Then you also look at the company material, what it is doing, then see that what is your performance level. Then also go through the workshops, seminars that is organized by the organization and outside also to explore various careers for you. And then next stage you are going to develop your own plan, that okay, these are the activities that you are going to take up as a part of your development activities. That is where some software activities, software packages can also help you to go for assessment and these kind of things. And you will also find certain career planning websites which will help you to decide how to go about it, right. So, there are a lot of methods that could be used to identify what needs to be done. So, the first thing that you are going to do when it comes to individual career plan is self assessment, right. So, that is you have to understand yourself, who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the opportunities in these kind of things, what are your attitude interests, what are the things that you like, what are those things that you do not like, right. Because you do not want to be a career which job which you do not like, right. You do not want to be in a career which does not match with your attitude and values. So, go for assessment, and career anchor probably helps you in this direction to understand yourself, that what are the dominant anchors which is important in your life, and based on that you are going to decide about your career, right. So, these are the different kind of activities that you need to take up at different levels. So, you go for self assessment to start with. This is one example that I have taken here, right. For example, in a particular role you are, and then you want to go for it, right. Then you have to see that how you go about it, right. So, you look at your educational background, your knowledge, skill, strength and weaknesses, extracurricular, right. So, you mention that, then you see that what are the jobs that you had done in the past, including your experience in each position, because that gives you to assess yourself very well, right. Then you move to the next question, that okay, what are the things in terms of skills that you have at what level, right. That is you are going to assess your competencies like communication, leadership, interpersonal, team building, creativity, technical. This is a not exhaustive list, this is a list, suggestive list which says okay, these could be important skills for moving up in the career, right. Then you see that what are the recognitions, awards that you have received, what are the knowledge and experience that you have gained, right. Then next level, you have to identify your career goals, work attitude and preferences in order of importance. Like the most important needs I want to satisfy in my career, what is your first, second, third. Then you say that okay, these needs can be fulfilled in which area and what are the skills that is required. So, you are going to match your need and area, and then see whether it is matching in your case or not, right. Moving further, you are going to see that what kind of value system you have, right. Part of that is related to anchors also, right, independence, financial rewards, sense of achievement, helping others, job security, creativity, right. So, whether you see that the extent to which this is there or not. Now, you look at that whether the job that you are handling, how are going to compromise on the followings. Okay. Then you look at your internal external considerations which you encounter, and based on this self assessment you will be able to understand better okay, what are your interests, what is your value system, okay. Then what are your strength in terms of knowledge, experience, what is your performance level, all kind of things that you have to assess, and that is the first part where you are going to assess yourself. So, now you look at this, the first part, it means that you are going to learn about yourself. Next stage, we are going to create a balance sheet of your strength and weaknesses. Now, you look at this. Okay. Strength and weaknesses of the balance sheet. So, when I am talking about strength of the strength and weaknesses of the balance sheet, so you do one thing. For example, if you want to create a balance sheet, so on this you draw a line, on this side you think about your strength, and on this side you think about weaknesses. Something like this, right? Why this kind of thing? And then you think that okay, these are my strength and these are my weaknesses. So, create a list of strength and weaknesses, that is very very important. Okay. It is a self evaluation process, right. So, you become aware about your strength and weaknesses. Okay. Either you go for a questionnaire that is developed by somebody, or you can do on your own and decide okay, think okay, these are my strength in different areas and these are my weaknesses in different areas. For example, you know that you are good in doing certain things, but you are not punctual. So, if you are not punctual, punctuality is something that you are lacking, right. Suppose you are not good in time management, so that could be a weakness. Suppose you say that you are not assertive, but you are doing your job very well, but you do not have the ability to say no, right. So, you identify these things, and that is how you become aware about your strength and weaknesses, right, and see that how you perceive them. Are they really your strength and weaknesses, or this otherwise? Maybe these weaknesses may be your strength also. You think that you sometimes you say no to people and you think that it is a weakness, but no, it is not a weakness. It could be a strength for you also, because you do not want to be overloaded, because you cannot do all the things. So, sometimes you have to say no, right. So, it instead of saying it is a weakness, it could be a strength also. So, it depends upon how you perceive them, it is very very important. So, once you have created this list of strength and weaknesses, then it is good for you. Then, and that is what I said, draw a line down the middle of the sheet of the paper, then write what are the strength and the weaknesses. Left side you write strength, right side you write weaknesses. Okay. Sometimes you will find that when everybody is doing like that, you will find that you have more weaknesses than your strength. Okay. And then you analyze each of these strength and weaknesses, that how you have perceived it, and see that what needs to be done. Okay. Ultimately, some of the weaknesses could be your strength as well, right. Then another survey that you have to do, because it all depends upon whether you like doing certain things or do not like doing certain things. Okay. Sometimes you may be in a job which you do not like, right, and then you either regret or you go for a change or quit the job, right. So, make sure that you do these kind of surveys, okay, so that you know what are the things that you like or those things that you do not like. Sometimes what happens, you put certain restrictions on yourself. No, this is not my job, this is what I cannot do. This is a mentality that you have developed. It could be a wrong thinking on your part. So, you should see to it that why you are thinking like that, why you are putting these restrictions on yourself, that I cannot do it. Sometimes I say no, I do not want to go to south to work. Why? What is the problem? Right? Or I do not want to go to northeast, or I do not want to work with this kind of companies, right. So, this is the prescriptions that you have already made about self, and that could be a part of your liking or disliking. Then you go for analyzing that why you are thinking about like that, right. So, you go for this kind of survey that would help you to identify your interests, right. You can also take help of the there are a lot of websites which give you a lot of assessment scales, which is going to help you to measure your interest as also your liking and disliking, right. One thing that you can do is that is the Highland typology, basically that helps you to identify the kind of career that you are going to be suitable in. So, you can visit his website, or you can look into the typology of that is developed by Holland. Okay. It is a self directed search where you try to see that okay, what kind of career is going to be more suitable for you, and then you see whether you have the strength and weaknesses related to that particular career, whether you like it or not, whether your attitude and values matches with that kind of career or not, and then accordingly you can decide whether you should go for this kind of career or not. There is a character sorter which basically tells you that okay, whether you have the kind of personality that is required for you to go into a particular career or not, right. So, there could be a lot of information that you can find out today, and that can assist you or help you to identify the right kind of career, right. And then you look at this model on career management. Okay. So, you move to different stages. First stage is your career exploration, okay, when you are going for career planning, and before that what actually happens, you go for assessment, get as much information possible, look at various opportunities that is available, and that who is going to support you for this, for your career activities. And at the background you will find this is what is there with you, okay. Your education, your family, your work, or the society, because sometimes they also influence you, and this is the job that you have to do, information, opportunities and support that you require in order to decide about the right kind of career when you are going to plan your career, right. So, based on this background, you are trying to make a decision related to your career. So, you move to the first stage, that is career exploration. So, you try to see what kind of career would be good based upon the choices and opportunities that is available to you. Okay. And in order to see that, you have to do it this. You have to aware about yourself and the environment. So, you remember we talked about economic factors, not only economic factors, but other environmental factors. Based on the constraints and opportunities that is coming from the environment and your assessment, you are going to set your career goals. Okay. Once you set your career goals, you develop your strategy, okay, in terms of what you are going to do, in terms of your action plan. You implement those activities and monitor your progress towards the career goal, and then see the extent to which you have been able to achieve your career, right. Here also you have a process of what you call feedback. Okay. So, once you implement, you try to see that whether this is being implemented properly or not, and when you are going to appraise your career in terms of whether you have been able to achieve the goal or not, you also see to it that the extent to which you have been able to achieve that goal or not. Okay. Then this again moves to what you call the career exploration. If you have not been able to achieve the right kind of career, then you restart the process and go through the entire thing again, in order to see that you are able to achieve the career that is expected from you, that is what you are expecting, right. So, now if you look at this career management process, especially related to individual career planning, two things are coming into mind. First, what activity you are going to take up to explore, and what kind of knowledge, skill and support system that you have, right, top and the bottom. And then you start the process of career exploration, looking at the constraints that is created by the environment and your own assessment in terms of your strength and weaknesses, your liking and disliking, your values, your attitude, all kind of things. And based on this, you converse them, go for a synergy and see what is your goal. So, you are going to set your goal based on this analysis. Then in order to achieve those career goals, you are going to engage in certain activities. Okay. So, you develop your strategy in terms of your action plan, and then you implement it effectively. While you are going through this activities, you also try to get feedback whether you are on the right track or not, right. So, the feedback you have to get at the implementation stage also, whether it is being implemented, whether you are doing all the activities that is required or not. And you also measure the goal, progress goal, right, whether you have been able to achieve those goals, and that can be done by appraising your career. Okay. Suppose you want to say that 10 years down the line you want to become vice president, whether you have become vice president of the company or not, right. If not, then what happened, what are the problems that you faced, at what level this problem has happened, and if it has not happened, then you re-explore your career, go for your assessment looking at the environment, and then you might go for a change in the goal, because you think that it is not possible to achieve it. So, okay, so when you are going to set your goals, you have to see that you follow those principles of a SMART, specific, measurable, which could be achieved, which is realistic and can be achieved within a time frame. So, by 10 years time frame, you make sure that this goal is really achievable for you. Okay. If you are setting it too high or too low, then it is not good. So, you should be familiar with the goal setting process, and accordingly you develop your strategy. So, 10 years down, 10 years down the line, what are the different activities that you plan to perform and how you are going to take it up, right, and that is how you are going to plan your career at the individual level, right. So, what we have discussed, these kind of things, right. Go for exploration, be aware about the self and environment, set the goal, go for strategy development, implement it, look at the progress that you have made, get the feedback from different sources, and then evaluate yourself whether you have been able to achieve that career or not, right. Thank you very much.